The champagne glass slipped from Natasha's fingers, but she didn't hear it shatter against the marble floor. All she could hear was the blood pounding in her ears as she watched her husband Gregory pull another woman into his arms on the dance floor. Not just any woman. Simone. His secretary. Their song was playing. Unforgettable by Nat King Cole. The song they had danced to at their wedding 10 years ago. The song Gregory had requested specifically for this anniversary gala. Natasha had thought it was romantic. She had been wrong about so many things. 200 guests filled the ballroom of the Preston Hotel, the most expensive venue in the city. Colleagues, friends, family members, all watching as Gregory's hand slid down to the small of Simone's back, pulling her closer. Too close. His lips moved near her ear, whispering something that made the younger woman laugh and tilt her head back, exposing her throat in a gesture so intimate that Natasha felt physically sick. "Natasha, honey, are you all right?" Her mother touched her arm, concern etched across her face. Natasha couldn't speak. She stood frozen in her emerald green gown, the dress she had spent months searching for, the dress Gregory had barely glanced at when she came downstairs that evening. Now she understood why. He had been too busy texting Simone, making sure she wore something that would complement his navy suit. The pieces fell into place with brutal clarity. The late nights at the office. The weekend business trips. The way he turned his phone face down whenever she entered the room. The smell of perfume that wasn't hers. The distance in his eyes when he looked at her, like she was furniture he had stopped noticing years ago. But this was different. This wasn't sneaking around in dark corners or lying about whereabouts. This was humiliation served on a silver platter in front of everyone they knew. This was Gregory telling the world that he didn't respect her enough to even hide it anymore. Simone wore a red dress that clung to her figure. She was 28, 7 years younger than Natasha. Pretty in that obvious way that required no effort, no thought. Her blonde hair cascaded down her back as she gazed up at Gregory with adoring eyes, the same way Natasha had looked at him once upon a time. "I need some air," Natasha whispered to her mother and turned away from the dance floor. She walked quickly through the crowd, aware of the pitying glances and hushed whispers that followed her. Everyone had noticed. Of course they had. How could they not? Her husband was dancing with his mistress at their anniversary party, and she was the fool who had planned the whole thing. Natasha pushed through the French doors onto the terrace. The night air hit her face, but it didn't cool the burning shame that crawled up her neck. She gripped the stone railing, her perfectly manicured nails digging into the cold surface. 10 years. She had given him 10 years of her life. She had put her own career on hold to support his. She had managed their home, entertained his clients, smiled through countless boring dinners with his colleagues. She had been the perfect wife, and this was how he repaid her. Behind her, the music swelled. She heard the crowd applauding as the song ended. Were they applauding for the anniversary couple? Or for the new couple who had just declared themselves to the world? "There you are." Gregory's voice came from behind her. She didn't turn around. "People are asking for you. We need to cut the cake." Natasha laughed, a bitter sound that didn't sound like her at all. "The cake? Of course. Can't forget the cake. What's your problem?" His tone was irritated, like she was being unreasonable. She spun around to face him. "My problem? You just danced with your secretary at our anniversary party." Gregory rolled his eyes. "Don't be dramatic. It was just a dance. Simone is part of the team. I dance with lots of people at these events. To our song. It's just a song, Natasha. You had your hand on her back. You were whispering in her ear. Everyone saw it. You're being paranoid." He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "And you're making a scene. Do you know how embarrassing this is?" The audacity of his words stole her breath. "How embarrassing this is. For you?" "Yes, for me. My wife can't even handle me dancing with a colleague without throwing a tantrum. What are people going to think?" Natasha stared at him, really looked at him for the first time in months. When had he become this person? Or had he always been this way and she had been too blind to see it? "I want you to tell me the truth," she said quietly. "Are you sleeping with her?" Gregory's jaw tightened. For a moment she thought he might actually be honest. Then his expression shifted into something cold and distant. "I'm not doing this here. We have guests waiting. Fix your face and come back inside." He walked away without waiting for her response, leaving her alone on the terrace with her shattered illusions and broken heart. Natasha didn't go back inside. She stood there until the party ended, until the last guest left, until the only sound was the cleaning crew packing up the ballroom. She stood there until she felt nothing at all, until the tears dried on her cheeks and something hard and determined settled in her chest. Gregory had made his choice in front of 200 witnesses. Now she would make hers. And when she was done, he would wish he had shown her even a fraction of the respect she deserved. Natasha woke up on the couch, still wearing her emerald dress. Sunlight streamed through the windows of their living room, harsh and unforgiving. Her head pounded from crying and the champagne she had finally drunk when she got home, straight from the bottle while Gregory snored in their bedroom. She sat up slowly, her body aching. The house was quiet. Too quiet. She checked her phone. 9 in the morning. Gregory should have been up by now. He always went for a run on Sunday mornings. Natasha stood and climbed the stairs, her heels dangling from her hand. The bedroom door was open. The bed was made. Gregory's suitcase was gone from the closet. Her heart hammered as she rushed to the bathroom. His toiletries were gone. She ran back to the closet. Half his clothes were missing. On the nightstand, she found a note scribbled on hotel stationery. Had to leave early for the conference in Miami. Back Wednesday. Don't forget to pick up my dry cleaning. Natasha read it 3 times. Not a single word about last night. Not an apology, not an explanation. Just a reminder about dry cleaning. And a lie. She knew there was no conference in Miami. She managed his calendar. There was nothing scheduled. She sat on the edge of the bed, the note crumpling in her fist. He had left. The morning after their anniversary, he had packed a bag and left with Simone. He didn't even have the decency to lie well. Something inside Natasha crystallized. This wasn't just about an affair. This was about complete disrespect. Gregory thought she was stupid. He thought she would just accept this, swallow her humiliation, and wait obediently for him to come back and lie to her face. She stood and walked to his study, the one room in the house she rarely entered. Gregory called it his private office, and got annoyed when she came in. She had respected that boundary. No more. Natasha sat at his desk and opened his laptop. She knew his password. It was her birthday, ironically enough. The computer opened to his email. She didn't even have to search. The emails were right there, dozens of them, sent from his personal account that she didn't know he had. Can't wait to have you all to myself in Miami, baby. Tell your wife the conference starts Thursday. That gives us an extra day. The presidential suite at the Fontaine is booked. Same place as last time. Last time. This wasn't the first trip. Natasha scrolled through months of messages. Hotel reservations. Restaurant bookings. Photographs of them together in cities she had thought he visited alone. Paris, New York, San Francisco. Every business trip for the past year had been a lie. But it was the financial records that made her hands shake. She opened his banking app, same password, because Gregory was arrogant enough to think she would never look. A separate account she didn't know existed. Money moving in and out. Large amounts. Withdrawals for jewelry, designer clothes, expensive dinners. He was spending thousands on Simone while telling Natasha they needed to budget. That money was tight. She took screenshots of everything. Every email, every bank statement, every receipt. She sent them to her personal email and downloaded them to a flash drive she found in his desk drawer. Then she kept looking. There had to be more. Men like Gregory, men who lied this easily, always had more to hide. In a locked drawer, she found the key taped under the desk. She discovered documents. Corporate papers. Transfers. Account numbers. Things she didn't fully understand but knew looked wrong. Money moving between company accounts and personal accounts. Amounts that didn't match up with tax returns. Natasha photographed everything with her phone. She didn't know what it all meant yet, but she would find out. She would learn everything. By the time she finished, it was past noon. Her phone buzzed with a text from Gregory. Landed safely. Conference starts tomorrow. Might not be able to call much. Love you. Love you. 2 words that meant nothing. Less than nothing. Natasha deleted the text without responding. She showered and changed into jeans and a sweater. Then she called her best friend Angela, who answered on the first ring. Girl, I've been calling you all morning. Are you okay? Last night was. I need the name of a good divorce lawyer, Natasha said calmly. The best one you know. Silence on the other end. Then Angela's voice came back, steady and sure. I'll text you the information right now. Her name is Patricia Reeves. She's expensive but worth every penny. She destroyed my cousin's ex-husband in court. Perfect. Natasha, what are you going to do? Whatever I have to, Natasha said. He thinks I'm weak. He thinks I'll just accept this. He's wrong. She hung up and waited for Angela's text. Within minutes, she had Patricia Reeves' number. She called immediately, not caring that it was Sunday. A professional voice answered after 3 rings. This is Patricia Reeves. My name is Natasha Bennett. I need to divorce my husband, and I need to make sure he loses everything. I'm listening, Patricia said. Natasha told her everything. The affair. The public humiliation. The financial records. The hidden accounts. Patricia listened without interrupting, and when Natasha finished, the lawyer was quiet for a moment. Can you come to my office tomorrow morning? 8 o'clock. I'll be there. And Natasha? Don't tell him you're filing. Don't tell anyone except people you trust completely. We need the element of surprise. He's out of town until Wednesday. Perfect. That gives us time to prepare. Bring every document you found. Every screenshot. Everything. After hanging up, Natasha walked through the house she had spent 10 years making into a home. The furniture she had carefully selected. The artwork she had chosen. The garden she had planted and tended. She had built a life here, and Gregory had destroyed it without a second thought. But she wasn't the same woman who had planned that anniversary party. That woman was gone. The woman standing here now was someone different. Someone harder. Someone who wouldn't cry or beg or wait for a man to choose her. Gregory had made his choice. Now she would make him live with the consequences. She spent the rest of the day organizing documents, making lists, preparing for war. Because that's what this was. War. And Natasha intended to win. Patricia Reeves' office was on the 40th floor of a glass building downtown. Natasha arrived 15 minutes early, dressed in a black pantsuit that made her feel powerful. She needed that feeling. Her hands still shook when she thought about what she was about to do. The receptionist led her to a corner office with floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the city. Patricia stood to greet her. She was a tall black woman in her 50s with gray locks pulled back elegantly. Her handshake was firm, her gaze direct. Sit down, Natasha. Coffee? Yes, please. Black. Patricia poured from a silver carafe and settled behind her desk. Let's see what you brought me. Natasha spread the documents across the desk. Bank statements. Emails. Photographs. Corporate records. Patricia examined each one carefully, making notes on a legal pad. The silence stretched for 10 minutes. 20. Natasha sipped her coffee and waited. Finally, Patricia looked up. This is good. Very good. You did excellent work documenting everything. So you can help me? Oh, I can do more than help you. I can destroy him. Patricia leaned back in her chair. Your husband has been incredibly stupid. He's been embezzling from his own company. These transfers here, see these account numbers? That's company money moving into personal accounts. He's been siphoning funds for over a year. Natasha's stomach dropped. Are you sure? Positive. I've seen this pattern before. He's been stealing from Bennett Technologies to fund his lifestyle with this woman. That's criminal, not just civil. He could go to prison. Good, Natasha said coldly. Patricia raised an eyebrow. You mean that? I do. He humiliated me in front of everyone I know. He threw away 10 years like they meant nothing. He stole from his own company to buy jewelry for another woman. Yes, I mean it. All right then. Patricia pulled out a fresh legal pad. Here's what we're going to do. First, we file for divorce on the grounds of adultery. We have overwhelming evidence. Second, we immediately freeze all joint assets so he can't move money around. Third, we document the embezzlement and turn the evidence over to the board of directors at his company. Won't they cover for him? He's the founder. Not if they want to avoid being accessories. Companies take embezzlement seriously. They'll have no choice but to investigate and likely terminate him. Without his job, he loses his income, his reputation, and his leverage. The mistress will disappear when the money dries up. Natasha nodded slowly. What about me? What do I get? Everything. The house, the cars, the investments, anything with your name on it stays with you. Anything joint gets split 50-50. Plus alimony since you left your career to support his. And given his adultery and financial misconduct, the judge will be very sympathetic to your position. How long will this take? If he fights us, could be a year or more. If he's smart and settles, 6 months. He won't settle, Natasha said. He's too arrogant. Then we go to war. Patricia smiled. But here's the thing about men like Gregory. They're bullies. They're used to getting their way. When someone finally stands up to them, they crumble. Trust me. They spent the next 2 hours going over strategy. Patricia explained the legal process, the timeline, the potential outcomes. She asked Natasha detailed questions about their finances, their marriage, their life together. Some questions made Natasha cry. Patricia handed her tissues without comment and waited for her to continue. By the time Natasha left the office, she had signed documents to begin the divorce proceedings. Patricia would file them Wednesday morning, the day Gregory returned from Miami. He would be served at his office in front of his colleagues. "One more thing," Patricia said as Natasha gathered her things. "Are you prepared for how ugly this might get? He's going to be angry. He's going to try to manipulate you. He might make promises or threats." "I'm ready." "Good. Because the woman who walks out of this office needs to be unshakable. No matter what he says, no matter what he promises, you cannot waver. Can you do that?" Natasha thought about the dance, about the note, about the emails and the money and the lies. "Yes, I can do that." "Excellent. I'll call you tomorrow with updates. In the meantime, open your own bank account. Move half of everything in joint accounts into it. That's your legal right. Secure any personal items or documents you care about. Change passwords on everything." And Natasha, "Yes. Start thinking about what you want your life to look like after this. Because you're not just ending a marriage. You're starting over. That can be terrifying, but it can also be the best thing that ever happened to you." Natasha drove home in a daze. The city passed by in a blur of buildings and traffic. She felt strange, like she was floating outside her body, watching someone else drive her car and live her life. At home, she did exactly what Patricia suggested. She went to the bank and opened a new account in her name only. She transferred half of their joint savings, $50,000. It felt surreal moving money with a few clicks on her phone. Then she went through the house room by room. She took photographs of everything for insurance purposes. She gathered her grandmother's jewelry, her important documents, her personal items. She stored them in a safe deposit box at the bank. She changed every password on every account she had. Email, social media, shopping sites, everything. She created new passwords Gregory would never guess. By evening, she was exhausted but felt oddly calm. She ordered takeout and ate it standing at the kitchen counter, looking out at the backyard. The garden needed weeding. She had planted roses last spring. They were blooming now, red and pink and white. She had thought she was planting them for a future here. 4 years of watching them grow. Now she realized she might be leaving this house, this garden, this life. The thought didn't hurt as much as she expected. Maybe she was ready to leave. Maybe she should have left years ago. Her phone buzzed. "Gregory. Miss you, baby. Wish you were here." Natasha stared at the message. Lies upon lies. He was with Simone right now, probably in that presidential suite he had booked. They were laughing at her, the stupid wife back home who believed everything. She didn't respond. She blocked his number and deleted the message. She didn't need to hear from him. Patricia would handle all communication from now on. Instead, Natasha poured a glass of wine and sat in the garden until the stars came out. The night air was cool. The roses smelled sweet. Somewhere in the distance, she heard music playing, laughter from a neighbor's party. Life went on. The world didn't stop because her marriage had ended. Tomorrow the sun would rise. People would go to work. Children would play. Life would continue. And so would she. The days before Gregory returned passed in a strange blur of activity and numbness. Natasha moved through them with mechanical precision, following Patricia's instructions and beginning to build something she had forgotten she was capable of building. A future. Tuesday morning, she made a phone call she had been putting off for years. Dr. Sharon Mitchell had been her mentor in graduate school, back when Natasha was earning her MBA and dreaming of starting her own consulting firm. They had lost touch after Natasha got married and put her career on hold to support Gregory's growing company. "Natasha Bennett?" Sharon's voice was warm with surprise. "I can't believe it. How are you?" "I've been better," Natasha admitted. "But I'm ready to change that. Are you free for lunch?" They met at a small restaurant near the university. Sharon looked exactly the same, sharp eyes behind stylish glasses, confidence in every gesture. She ordered wine and gave Natasha her full attention. "Tell me everything," Sharon said. So Natasha did. Not all of it, she wasn't ready to share the full humiliation yet, but enough. The marriage was ending. She needed to rebuild her career. She needed advice. Sharon listened without interrupting. When Natasha finished, she nodded slowly. "First question, do you still have your MBA thesis?" "Yes." "Why?" "Because your research on small business optimization was brilliant. I've referenced it in my own work. Several companies have asked me to consult on exactly what you specialized in. I've been turning them down because I don't have time. But you could do it." Natasha felt something flicker in her chest. Hope maybe. "I haven't worked in 10 years. So what? You have a degree. You have knowledge. You have skills. All you need is confidence and clients. Sharon pulled out her phone. I'm sending you 3 contacts right now. Companies that need help. Tell them I referred you. Charge them what you're worth, at least $200 an hour. $200 an hour? You have an MBA from a top program. You understand business strategy. Don't sell yourself short. These companies waste millions because of poor optimization. You can save them money and make yourself wealthy in the process. Natasha's hands shook as Sharon's text arrived. 3 names. 3 potential clients. 3 chances to build something of her own. I don't know how to thank you, she said. Thank me by being successful. And by never again putting your dreams aside for a man who doesn't deserve you. Sharon reached across the table and squeezed her hand. You're better than you think you are, Natasha. Show the world what you can do. That afternoon, Natasha set up a home office in the spare bedroom. She created a website, simple but professional. Bennett Consulting Services. She wrote up her credentials, her services, her approach. It took hours to get the wording right, but by evening she had something she was proud of. Then she emailed the 3 contacts Sharon had given her. Professional messages introducing herself, explaining her background, offering a free initial consultation. She hit send before she could second-guess herself. Within an hour she had 2 responses. Both wanted to meet. Natasha felt something she hadn't felt in years: excitement. Purpose. The sense that she was moving towards something instead of just existing. That night she couldn't sleep. She lay awake making plans, researching the companies that had responded, preparing for the meetings. At 2 in the morning she got up and made detailed notes. By dawn she was ready. The first meeting was Wednesday morning at 9. A small tech startup struggling with scaling their operations. The founder, a woman named Brittany, was younger than Natasha but exhausted from trying to manage explosive growth alone. I feel like I'm drowning, Brittany admitted over coffee in her cluttered office. We went from 5 employees to 50 in 6 months. I don't know how to manage this. Natasha spent 2 hours asking questions, taking notes, analyzing their structure. She saw the problems immediately: communication breakdowns, unclear roles, inefficient processes. All fixable. I can help you, she said finally. I'll need 3 months and full access to your operations. By the end, you'll have clear systems, defined workflows, and a management structure that can scale to 500 employees. How much? Natasha remembered Sharon's words. Don't sell yourself short. $25,000 for the 3-month project. That's a discount from my normal rates because you're a startup. She held her breath. It was more money than she had ever asked for anything. Brittany didn't hesitate. When can you start? Monday. They shook hands. Natasha walked out with a signed contract and a deposit check for half the amount. $12,500. More money than Gregory had let her spend in months while he was buying jewelry for Simone. The second meeting was that afternoon. A family restaurant chain with 15 locations and no centralized management system. They were losing money because each location operated differently. The owner practically begged her to help. $30,000, Natasha said. 4 months. Done. 2 clients in 1 day. $55,000 in contracted work. Natasha drove home in shock. She had done it. She had actually done it. But Wednesday also meant Gregory was coming home. Patricia had filed the divorce papers that morning. Process servers would deliver them to his office at 4 o'clock. Patricia had timed it deliberately: public, professional, humiliating. Natasha was home when her phone rang at 4:15. Patricia. He's been served. Are you somewhere safe? I'm home. He doesn't know where I am. Good. Don't answer if he calls. Don't engage. Let him call me. That's what lawyers are for. Okay. Natasha? How are you doing? I got 2 clients today. $55,000 in contracts. Patricia laughed. That's my girl. You're going to be just fine. Gregory called at 4:30. Then 4:45. Then 5 o'clock. Natasha let every call go to voicemail. She didn't listen to the messages. She didn't need to hear his anger or his excuses or his lies. At 6, someone knocked on the door. Natasha looked through the window. Gregory's car was in the driveway. She didn't answer. Natasha. Open this door. His voice was muffled but furious. We need to talk. She stood silent in the hallway. I know you're in there. This is ridiculous. You can't just divorce me without talking to me first. Actually, she could. Patricia had explained that. Once papers were filed, she had no obligation to speak to him. Gregory pounded on the door for 5 more minutes. Then he stopped. She heard his footsteps retreating, heard his car start, heard him drive away. Only then did Natasha breathe. Her hands were shaking, but she felt strong. She had done it. She had started the process. There was no going back now. She spent the evening preparing for her new clients, making plans, building spreadsheets, creating strategies. The work absorbed her completely. For hours, she didn't think about Gregory or Simone or the divorce. At midnight, she finally stopped and looked around the spare bedroom. It wasn't just a storage room anymore. It was an office. Her office. The headquarters of her new business, her new life. Bennett Consulting Services. She said it out loud, testing how it sounded. It sounded good. It sounded like success. Tomorrow she would meet with Patricia to discuss next steps. But tonight she would celebrate this small victory. She had taken the first real step toward independence. Gregory had thought she was weak. He thought she needed him. He was wrong. Natasha poured herself a glass of wine and toasted her reflection in the dark window. To new beginnings, she said softly. Behind her reflection, she could see the city lights spread out below. Somewhere out there, Gregory was probably raging to Simone about the divorce papers. Somewhere out there, her future was waiting. She was ready for it. Natasha threw herself into work with an intensity that surprised her. The tech startup project consumed her days. She arrived at Brittany's office at 7 each morning and didn't leave until evening. She interviewed every employee, analyzed every process, identified every inefficiency. The work was challenging and exhausting and exactly what she needed. The restaurant chain project happened in the evenings and weekends. She visited each location, talked to managers, reviewed financial records. The problems were obvious once she looked: different ordering systems, inconsistent pricing, no quality control. She created detailed reports with solutions. Both clients were thrilled. By the second week, Brittany had already implemented 3 of Natasha's recommendations and saved $15,000 in the process. The restaurant owner called to say her suggestions had increased efficiency by 30% at the flagship location. "Can we extend your contract?" he asked. "I want you to overhaul all 15 locations, not just advise." "That would be a bigger project. Probably 6 months minimum." "Name your price." Natasha did the math in her head. $75,000. "Done. I'll have my lawyer send a contract." She hung up and stared at her phone. $130,000 in contracted work. In 2 weeks. She had earned more than Gregory had paid her in allowance for an entire year. The irony wasn't lost on her. Patricia called that afternoon with updates on the divorce. "Gregory's lawyer is playing hardball. They're claiming you abandoned the marriage by refusing to see him." "That's absurd." "Of course it is. But it's a standard tactic. They'll throw everything at the wall and see what sticks." "Don't worry. We have evidence he abandoned the marriage first, with his mistress. But there's something else we need to discuss." Natasha's stomach tightened. "What?" "I had a forensic accountant look at those corporate records you found. Gregory hasn't just been embezzling to fund his affair. He's been doing it for years. Hundreds of thousands of dollars. Maybe more." "How much more?" "We need to dig deeper to know for sure." "But Natasha, this is serious. This isn't just civil fraud. This is criminal. If the company presses charges, he'll go to prison." Natasha was quiet. Part of her felt vindicated. Another part felt sick. She had loved this man once. She had planned a future with him. Now she was uncovering evidence that could put him in prison. "What do you want to do?" Patricia asked gently. "We can turn this over to the company's board, or we can keep it as leverage in the divorce. What do you recommend?" "Honestly? Turn it over. Corporate fraud this serious will come out eventually. Better to be the one who reported it. Shows you had no knowledge of or participation in his crimes. Protects you from any legal blowback." "Do it," Natasha said. "Send everything to the board." "You're sure?" "I'm sure." That evening, Patricia sent a detailed package to the board of directors at Bennett Technologies. Copies of bank records, transfer documents, everything Natasha had found plus what the forensic accountant had uncovered. The cover letter explained that Mrs. Bennett had discovered this evidence during divorce proceedings and felt obligated to report it. The response came faster than anyone expected. Friday morning, Patricia called. "The board has initiated an emergency investigation. They've suspended Gregory pending the results. His company email and building access have been revoked." That was fast. "They're scared. If this gets out, the company's reputation is destroyed. They'll want to distance themselves from Gregory as quickly as possible." "Which is good for us." A fired CEO with no income has less leverage in a divorce. Natasha felt strange. Hello. She should have felt triumphant, but instead she just felt tired. There's more, Patricia continued. I got a call from Simone's lawyer. Simone has a lawyer? Apparently Gregory promised to leave you and marry her. Set her up financially. She quit her job at his company based on these promises. Now that he's suspended and the money's dried up, she's threatening to sue him for breach of contract. Natasha laughed. She couldn't help it. She's suing him? For emotional distress and financial damages. She claims he made promises he can't keep. Her lawyer sent us a courtesy copy of the filing. Why? Professional courtesy. And probably because she thinks we'll find it useful in the divorce. She's not wrong. Gregory's mistress is now testifying to his lies and financial manipulation. It's perfect for our case. After hanging up, Natasha sat in her office. She had officially converted the spare bedroom now, complete with a new desk and ergonomic chair, and processed the information. Gregory's world was collapsing. His company had suspended him. His mistress was suing him. His wife was divorcing him. And he had done it all to himself. Her phone buzzed. An email from Brittany, the startup founder. Natasha, I don't know how to thank you. We just closed our series of funding round. The investors were incredibly impressed with the operational improvements you implemented. They specifically mentioned it as a factor in their decision to invest. You saved this company. I'm sending you a bonus. Natasha checked her bank account an hour later. Brittany had sent $5,000 extra. Thank you for everything, the note said. That weekend, Natasha allowed herself a small celebration. She met Sharon for dinner at an upscale restaurant. They ordered expensive wine and clinked glasses. To your success, Sharon said. I knew you had it in you. I couldn't have done it without you. Nonsense. I just opened a door. You walked through it. Speaking of which, I have 3 more potential clients who've asked about you. Word is spreading. Natasha felt her throat tighten with emotion. Thank you. For believing in me when I didn't believe in myself. That's what mentors are for. Sharon leaned forward. But seriously, Natasha, you need to think bigger. You're booking clients one at a time. What if you built an actual consulting firm? Hired other consultants? Scaled this up? I don't know if I'm ready for that. You're ready. Trust me. You've proven you can do the work. Now prove you can build something lasting. The idea planted itself in Natasha's mind. A real firm. Multiple consultants. Major contracts. Not just surviving on her own but thriving. Building an empire from the ashes of her marriage. Why not? She had already done the impossible. She had left a marriage, started a business, earned more in 3 weeks than she had in years. She had taken control of her life. Why stop now? You're right, Natasha said slowly. I'm going to do it. Bennett Consulting Group. A full-service firm. Sharon grinned. Now you're thinking like the woman I knew in graduate school. The one who was going to change the world. That night, Natasha couldn't sleep. Her mind raced with plans. She needed office space. She needed to hire staff. She needed bigger clients and longer contracts. She needed capital. She opened her laptop and started making calculations. She had money coming in from current contracts. She had savings she had protected from the divorce. If she was careful, if she planned strategically, she could actually do this. By Sunday morning, she had a complete business plan. 5-year projections. Staffing needs. Marketing strategy. Everything. She emailed it to Sharon. Thoughts. The response came back within an hour. This is brilliant. Let me make some calls. Monday morning, Natasha woke up to an email from one of the biggest corporations in the city. They had heard about her work through Sharon. They needed help restructuring their entire operations division. Timeline, 1 year. Budget, $500,000. If you're interested, let's talk, the email said. Natasha read it 3 times to make sure she wasn't hallucinating. $500,000. For one contract. It was more money than she had ever imagined. She called Patricia immediately. Can they come after this in the divorce? Not if you earn it after the separation date. Which you did. Any income you generate now is yours alone. I need to incorporate. Officially. Today. I'll send you to a business lawyer. She's excellent. She'll set everything up properly. By the end of the day, Natasha had a meeting scheduled with the corporation for Wednesday. She had an appointment with a business lawyer for Tuesday. She had a plan. Gregory's world was falling apart. Hers was just beginning. The meeting with the corporation went better than Natasha could have imagined. The executives listened intently as she presented her analysis of their operations division. She pointed out inefficiencies, suggested solutions, projected savings. They asked tough questions. She had answers for all of them. "When can you start?" the CEO asked. "I need 2 weeks to finalize my current projects and hire a team. Then I'm all yours." They signed the contract that afternoon. $500,000. 1 year. Bennett Consulting Group's first major client. Natasha walked out of that building feeling 10 feet tall. She called Sharon immediately. "I got it. The full contract. I never doubted you for a second. Now hire some people and change the world." Hiring took less time than expected. Sharon referred 2 of her best graduate students, brilliant young consultants looking for experience. Natasha interviewed them both and hired them on the spot. She found office space in a modern building downtown, just 2 rooms and a reception area, but it was hers. She signed a lease and bought furniture. Bennett Consulting Group officially opened 3 weeks after Gregory had been served divorce papers. Natasha stood in her new office, looking at her name on the door, and felt a surge of pride she had never experienced before. She had built this. Not Gregory. Not anyone else. But while her business flourished, the divorce proceedings grew uglier. Gregory's lawyer filed motion after motion, trying to delay, trying to claim assets, trying to paint Natasha as vindictive and unreasonable. Patricia shot down every attempt. "He's desperate," she explained. "He's lost his job. His mistress is suing him. He's looking at possible criminal charges. He needs money and he thinks you're his best source. He's not getting a penny from me." "Good. Stay strong. We're close to a settlement hearing." Gregory tried a different tactic. He showed up at her new office unannounced. Natasha's receptionist, a sharp young woman named Tiffany, called back to warn her. "Your ex-husband is here. Security is on their way." "Should I let him back?" "Absolutely not. Tell him to contact my lawyer." Through the glass wall, Natasha could see Gregory arguing with Tiffany. He looked terrible. His suit was wrinkled. He needed a haircut. The polished executive she had married was gone, replaced by someone frantic and desperate. Security arrived and escorted him out. He made a scene in the lobby, shouting about how she had destroyed his life, how she would regret this. Other tenants stared. Tiffany recorded everything on her phone just in case. "Are you okay?" Tiffany asked afterward. "I'm fine. Thank you for handling that so professionally. My ex was the same way. Acted like a victim when really he was just mad I wouldn't put up with his nonsense anymore." Tiffany smiled. "You're doing the right thing. Don't let him make you feel guilty." The incident made Natasha more determined. She doubled down on work. Her 2 new consultants were excellent. The corporate restructuring project was going perfectly. She landed 2 more smaller clients through referrals. Money flowed in steadily. She moved out of the house she had shared with Gregory and into a sleek apartment downtown, close to her office. The space was modern and minimalist, nothing like the cluttered suburban home. She bought new furniture, picked her own colors, decorated to her taste. Every choice was hers alone. Meanwhile, Gregory's investigation concluded. The board of Bennett Technologies found overwhelming evidence of embezzlement. They terminated him for cause, no severance, no benefits, no references. They also filed a civil suit to recover the stolen funds. Simone's lawsuit moved forward too. Her lawyer had documentation of every promise Gregory had made. Emails about the mansion he would buy her. Texts about the life they would have together. Evidence that she had quit her job based on his assurances. "He's drowning," Patricia said during one of their meetings. "His lawyer is begging us to settle. They're offering to give you everything, the house, the cars, the investments, if you'll agree to no alimony." "No. I want the alimony. I earned it." That's what I told them. They said Gregory doesn't have income anymore. Can't pay alimony without income. Not my problem. He should have thought of that before he destroyed his career. Patricia grinned. "You've gotten tough. I like it. I had a good teacher." The settlement hearing was scheduled for December, 4 months after that terrible anniversary party. Natasha prepared meticulously. She documented every asset, every account, every piece of property. She had photographs, bank statements, witness testimonies. She was ready for anything. The night before the hearing, she couldn't sleep. She lay in her new bed in her new apartment and thought about how far she had come. For months ago, she had been a woman watching her husband dance with his mistress. Now she was a successful business owner with a thriving consultancy and a future full of possibilities. Gregory had tried to break her. Instead, he had freed her. Her phone buzzed with a text from Angela. Good luck tomorrow. You've got this. Then one from Sharon. Remember, you're the prize he lost, not the other way around. Then one from Patricia. Be at the courthouse at 9. We're something powerful. Let's end this. Natasha smiled in the darkness. She was ready. Tomorrow she would face Gregory one last time. And she would win. Because she wasn't the same woman who had planned that anniversary party. That woman was gone. This woman was stronger, smarter, more capable than she had ever imagined possible. This woman was unstoppable. The courtroom was smaller than Natasha expected. Sterile white walls, fluorescent lights, rows of wooden benches. She sat next to Patricia at the plaintiff's table, dressed in a navy suit that made her feel invincible. Gregory sat across the aisle with his lawyer. He had lost weight. His suit hung loose on his frame. He kept glancing at her, but she refused to look back. She stared straight ahead at the judge's bench and waited. Judge Morrison entered, a stern black woman in her 60s with reading glasses perched on her nose. Everyone stood. The bailiff called the court to order. We're here for the matter of Bennett versus Bennett, Judge Morrison said. Dissolution of marriage. I've reviewed the filings from both parties. This should be straightforward. Let's proceed. Gregory's lawyer stood first. He painted a picture of a vindictive wife who had destroyed a good man over a single mistake. He claimed Natasha had stolen evidence illegally. He argued that Gregory deserved a fair division of assets, especially considering his current financial hardship. Patricia let him finish without interruption. Then she stood. Your Honor, let's talk about facts. Mr. Bennett conducted a year-long affair with his employee. He spent marital funds, over $200,000 on this affair. He humiliated my client publicly at their anniversary party. And when she discovered this, he abandoned her for a trip to Miami with his mistress. Patricia presented the evidence. Emails, bank statements, photographs, witness testimony from guests at the party. It was overwhelming and irrefutable. Furthermore, Patricia continued, Mr. Bennett embezzled from his own company to fund this affair. He has since been terminated for cause and faces possible criminal charges. His financial hardship is self-created through illegal activity. My client bears no responsibility for his choices. Judge Morrison reviewed the documents. The silence stretched. Gregory shifted in his seat. His lawyer whispered something to him. He shook his head. Your Honor, Gregory's lawyer said suddenly, my client would like to address the court. Patricia tensed beside Natasha. This wasn't standard procedure. Go ahead, Mr. Bennett, Judge Morrison said. Gregory stood. He looked directly at Natasha for the first time. His eyes were red-rimmed and desperate. Natasha, please. I made a terrible mistake. I know that. But we had 10 years together. That has to count for something. Don't do this. Don't destroy me completely. I'll give you the house, the cars, everything. Just don't ask for alimony. I don't have a job anymore. I'm facing lawsuits. I have nothing left. Please. The courtroom was silent. Everyone waited for Natasha's response. Patricia put a hand on her arm, a warning not to engage. But Natasha stood anyway. She looked Gregory in the eye for the first time since that terrible night. You humiliated me in front of 200 people, she said quietly. You spent our money on another woman. You lied to me every single day for a year. You made me feel small and stupid and worthless. And when I found out, you didn't apologize. You didn't try to fix it. You just left. I was confused. No. You were selfish. You wanted everything, me at home, her in hotels, money for both. You thought you could have it all. And when you got caught, you blamed me for being dramatic. You have nothing left because you destroyed it yourself. That's not my fault. That's yours. She sat down. Her hands were shaking, but her voice had been steady. Judge Morrison looked between them. Mr. Bennett, I've seen a lot of divorce cases. This is one of the clearest examples of fault I've encountered. You destroyed your marriage through infidelity and financial misconduct. The consequences of that are yours to bear, not your wife's. She spent 10 minutes outlining the judgment. Natasha got the house, both cars, and the investment accounts in her name. They split the joint savings 50-50. Gregory owed her $5,000 monthly in alimony for 5 years. He was responsible for all legal fees. This court is adjourned. It was over. Just like that. Natasha was divorced. Gregory left without looking at her. His lawyer followed, probably calculating how to break the bad news about fees. Simone was waiting in the hallway. Natasha saw her through the courtroom doors, but Gregory walked right past her without stopping. How do you feel? Patricia asked. Free, Natasha said. I meant it. They went to lunch to celebrate. Patricia ordered champagne. To your new life, she said. To women who don't accept less than they deserve, Natasha countered. Over the next 3 months, Natasha's business exploded. The corporate restructuring project finished ahead of schedule and under budget. The executives were so impressed they extended her contract for another year and referred her to 3 other companies. Bennett Consulting Group hired 4 more consultants. Natasha moved to a bigger office space with a view of the harbor. She hired a full-time office manager, an accountant, a marketing person. She was building something real. She bought a house, not in the suburbs where she had lived with Gregory but in the city. A modern townhouse with exposed brick and hardwood floors. She furnished it slowly, choosing each piece carefully. Every item reflected her taste, her style, her vision. She started dating, nothing serious, just dinners and movies and conversations with men who found her interesting. Men who asked about her business and listened to her answers. Men who didn't need her to be small so they could feel big. Angela set her up with a lawyer from her firm. They went out 3 times before mutually agreeing they were better as friends. You're intimidating now, he said with a laugh. In a good way. You know what you want. Is that bad? Not at all. Just different from who you were when you were married. He was right. She was different, stronger, more confident, more herself. Sharon invited her to speak at the university about entrepreneurship. Natasha stood in front of 100 graduate students and told them her story, not all of it, but enough. She told them about starting over, about building something from nothing, about believing in yourself even when no one else does. The students gave her a standing ovation. 3 of them asked to intern at her firm. She hired all 3. 6 months after the divorce, Bennett Consulting Group had 15 employees and annual revenue approaching $2 million. Natasha made the cover of a business magazine. From homemaker to CEO, one woman's incredible transformation. Gregory saw the article. She knew because he sent a bitter email Patricia forwarded to her. You destroyed my life and now you're celebrated for it. Natasha didn't respond. She didn't need to. She had won. Not by destroying him, he had done that himself. But by refusing to let his choices destroy her. By choosing to build instead of breaking. By turning pain into power. She framed the magazine cover and hung it in her office. Every time she looked at it, she remembered that terrible night at the anniversary party. She remembered standing on the terrace, feeling worthless and small. She remembered the woman she had been. And she was grateful to that woman for being brave enough to leave. For choosing herself. For believing she deserved better. Because she did. And now she had it. Spring came early that year. Natasha watched cherry blossoms bloom outside her office window and felt something close to contentment. Her business was thriving. Her life was full. The pain of her marriage felt distant now, like something that had happened to someone else. She was in a meeting with her senior consultants when Tiffany knocked. Sorry to interrupt, but you have a visitor. She says it's urgent. Who? She wouldn't give her name. Just said you'd want to hear what she has to say. Natasha excused herself and went to reception. A woman in her 30s stood there, nervous and fidgeting with her purse. It took Natasha a moment to recognize her. Simone. You have 5 minutes, Natasha said coldly. Conference room. Now. Inside the small room, Simone sat across from her. She looked terrible, thinner, older, exhausted. The confident woman from the anniversary party was gone. Why are you here? Natasha asked. Because I need to tell you something. About Gregory. About everything. I don't care about Gregory anymore. Please. Just listen. Simone took a shaky breath. He's planning something. He's been calling me, leaving messages. He's desperate for money. He keeps saying he has a plan to get back what you took from him. I didn't take anything from him. I took what was mine. I know. I know that now. I was stupid. I believed his lies. He promised me everything: marriage, money, a future. I quit my job for him. I ruined my reputation for him. And the second things got hard, he disappeared. He doesn't answer my calls. My lawsuit is going nowhere because he hid all his assets. I have nothing. That's not my problem. I know it's not. But he's dangerous now. He's cornered and desperate. He keeps saying you owe him. That you destroyed his life on purpose. That he's going to make you pay. Natasha felt ice in her stomach. Did he threaten me specifically? Not exactly. But the way he talks. I got scared. I thought you should know. They sat in silence. Natasha studied Simone, trying to decide if this was real or some kind of trap. Why would you warn me? She asked finally. You helped him destroy my marriage. I know, and I'm sorry. I really am. I told myself you didn't care about him, that your marriage was already over. I made excuses, but I was wrong. I hurt you and I'm sorry. Sorry doesn't fix anything. No, it doesn't. But maybe this does. Be careful around him. Don't meet him alone. He's not the man you married anymore. He's desperate, and desperate people do terrible things. Simone left her contact information and walked out. Natasha sat alone in the conference room processing the warning. She called Patricia immediately. He's been contacting me too, Patricia said. Rambling messages about how the divorce wasn't fair. How you manipulated the judge. I've been documenting everything. Do you think he's dangerous? Honestly, I don't know. Men who lose power can become unpredictable. File a restraining order. Don't take chances. Natasha filed the paperwork that afternoon. By evening, a judge had approved a temporary restraining order. Gregory couldn't come within 500 feet of her home, her office, or her person. The order was served to him the next morning. He violated it that afternoon. Natasha was leaving her office when she saw him standing by her car. He looked wild, unshaven, disheveled, angry. She stopped walking and pulled out her phone. I'm calling the police, she said loudly. You're violating a restraining order. Just talk to me, Gregory said. His voice cracked. 5 minutes. That's all I want. No. Leave. Now. You destroyed everything I built. You turned everyone against me. You owe me. People were gathering, watching. Tiffany had followed Natasha outside and was already on her phone with 911. I don't owe you anything. You destroyed yourself. I gave you everything. I gave you a house, a life, security, and this is how you repay me. Natasha felt anger surge through her. You gave me nothing. You gave me lies and betrayal and humiliation. Every good thing in my life now I built myself. You were just in the way. Sirens wailed in the distance. Gregory heard them too. His expression shifted from anger to panic. He backed away, got in his car, and drove off before the police arrived. But Natasha had recorded everything on her phone. Clear video of him violating the restraining order. Clear audio of his threats. She handed it to the police. We'll file charges, the officer said. Violation of a protective order is serious. He'll be arrested. Good, Natasha said. That evening she got a call from Patricia. Gregory was arrested an hour ago. They're holding him overnight. The judge will decide in the morning whether to let him out on bail. What are the chances he gets out? With video evidence of him violating the order? Not high. But even if he does, he'll face serious consequences. This isn't a civil matter anymore. It's criminal. Natasha paced her townhouse, unable to relax. She had security cameras installed years ago after the divorce started. She double-checked all the locks. She called Angela. Come stay with me tonight, Angela offered immediately. I'll be fine. I have an alarm system. At least let me come over. We can order pizza and binge-watch something terrible. Angela arrived with wine and terrible reality TV. They sat on Natasha's couch eating takeout and pretending everything was normal. But Natasha couldn't stop checking her phone, waiting for updates. The call came at midnight. Patricia. Gregory tried to post bail. The judge denied it. He's being held pending a psychiatric evaluation. Apparently he had a breakdown in court. Started screaming about how you ruined his life. They're concerned about his mental state. Is he going to prison? For violating the restraining order? Probably not. But he'll face penalties. And if he violates it again, he will go to prison. Plus he still has the embezzlement investigation hanging over him. His life is effectively over. After hanging up, Natasha felt strange. Not triumphant. Not vindicated. Just tired and sad. She had loved Gregory once. She had planned a life with him. Seeing him destroy himself so completely was painful, even after everything he had done. Are you okay? Angela asked. I don't know. Is it wrong that part of me feels sorry for him? You're a good person. That's not wrong. But don't confuse pity with responsibility. His choices led here. Not yours. I know. But I remember who he used to be. Before all this. He wasn't always like this. Maybe not. Or maybe he was always like this and you just couldn't see it. Either way, he made his choices. You made yours. His led to jail. Yours led to success. That tells you everything you need to know. Angela stayed overnight, sleeping in the guest room. The next morning, Natasha woke feeling clearer. Stronger. She had done everything right. She had protected herself. She had built a life worth protecting. Gregory had tried to break her and failed. Now he was the one broken. She wouldn't gloat about it. But she wouldn't feel guilty either. She had simply refused to let his choices destroy her future. And that, she realized, was the ultimate victory. The psychiatric evaluation revealed what everyone already suspected: Gregory was having a breakdown. The doctors recommended counseling and medication. The judge gave him a choice: accept help and stay out of Natasha's life, or face jail time for violating the restraining order. Gregory chose the help. He was released on strict conditions: weekly therapy, no contact with Natasha, regular check-ins with a probation officer. But the embezzlement investigation was reaching its conclusion. Bennett Technologies had hired a forensic accounting firm to trace every dollar. The evidence was overwhelming. Gregory had stolen nearly $500,000 over 3 years. The company offered him a deal: plead guilty to 1 count of fraud, pay restitution, and avoid prison time. Refuse, and they'd pursue all charges with maximum penalties. Gregory's lawyer advised him to take the deal. He had no defense, no money for a trial, and no sympathy from anyone. He took it. Natasha learned about the plea deal from Patricia. He'll be sentenced next month. Probation, restitution, and a criminal record. His career in corporate leadership is finished. How does he plan to pay restitution with no job? That's his problem. Not yours. But it became Natasha's business when Gregory's lawyer filed a motion to reduce his alimony payments. The argument was simple: Gregory couldn't afford the payments with no income and massive debt. The hearing was scheduled for October, almost exactly 1 year after that terrible anniversary party. Natasha walked into the courtroom dressed in a black dress that cost more than Gregory's entire current wardrobe. She sat at the plaintiff's table and watched Gregory shuffle in. He looked defeated. Broken. A shell of the arrogant man who had danced with his mistress while their song played. His lawyer made the argument for reduced payments. Gregory's financial hardship. His criminal record preventing him from finding work. His crushing debt. He painted a picture of a man destroyed by circumstances beyond his control. Patricia stood to respond. Your Honor, let's be clear about Mr. Bennett's circumstances. He is suffering consequences of his own criminal behavior. He embezzled funds. He committed fraud. He destroyed his own career through illegal actions. That is not Mrs. Bennett's fault or responsibility. But Your Honor, Gregory's lawyer interjected, my client can't pay what he doesn't have. He can get a job, Patricia said simply. Any job. Fast food, retail, manual labor. The law doesn't require him to work in his former field. It requires him to support himself and meet his obligations. Judge Morrison, the same judge who had handled the divorce, reviewed the file. Mr. Bennett, why should I reduce your alimony when you created this situation? Gregory stood. Your Honor, I made mistakes. Terrible mistakes. But I've lost everything. My career, my reputation, my money. I'm living in a studio apartment. I can barely afford food. The restitution payments alone take everything I have. You have a college degree, the judge said. You have work experience. You can find employment. No one will hire me. I have a criminal record. I've applied to over 100 jobs. Everyone knows who I am. Everyone knows what I did. That's unfortunate. But it's the consequence of your choices. Motion denied. You'll continue paying the agreed-upon alimony. If you genuinely can't pay, you can file for bankruptcy like anyone else. But I won't reduce your legal obligation to your ex-wife because you destroyed your own career. The gavel came down. Gregory sank into his chair like someone had cut his strings. Natasha felt nothing. No pity. No anger. No satisfaction. Just nothing. He was a stranger now. Someone she used to know a lifetime ago. Outside the courthouse, Patricia squeezed her arm. That's the last time you'll see him in court. He's got nothing left to fight with. I know. How does it feel? Like closing a book I should have put down years ago. They parted ways. Natasha drove back to her office, where her team was preparing for a major presentation. Bennett Consulting Group had been shortlisted for a contract with a Fortune 500 company. It would be their biggest deal yet, $3 million over 2 years. The presentation was that afternoon. Natasha reviewed her slides one last time, then gathered her team. We've worked hard for this opportunity. Let's show them what we can do. The presentation went perfectly. The executives asked tough questions. Natasha and her team had good answers. They highlighted successful projects, impressive results, innovative solutions. 3 days later they got the call. They had won the contract. Natasha stood in her office looking at the contract on her desk. $3 million, 20 employees, multiple major clients, an established reputation. She had built all of this in less than a year. She thought about the woman who had stood on that terrace, heartbroken and humiliated. She thought about how far she had come, how much she had changed. That woman would be proud, she decided. Tiffany knocked on the door. "There's someone here to see you. Says her name is Brittany?" The founder of the startup walked in, grinning widely. "I had to tell you in person. We just got acquired. $50 million. And the acquiring company specifically cited our operational efficiency as a major factor in the valuation. Efficiency you created. Brittany, that's incredible. I'm giving you a bonus. $100,000. You saved this company. You deserve to share in the success." After Brittany left, Natasha sat alone in her office and let herself feel it. Pride. Accomplishment. Joy. She had done this. She had taken a broken life and built something beautiful. That evening, she met Sharon for dinner. They raised glasses of wine. "To the most successful year of your life," Sharon said. "To the woman who believed in me when I didn't believe in myself," Natasha countered. "You did the work. I just pointed you in the right direction." "What do I do now?" Natasha asked. "I accomplished everything I set out to do. Where do I go from here?" "Anywhere you want," Sharon said simply. "That's the beauty of building your own life. The possibilities are endless." Natasha drove home through the city, watching lights flicker on in buildings all around her. Somewhere out there, Gregory was probably sitting in his studio apartment, thinking about everything he had lost. But she wasn't thinking about him. She was thinking about tomorrow. About the new contract. About expanding her business. About the future she was building brick by brick, choice by choice. She had started this journey broken and humiliated. She was ending it whole and triumphant. Not because she had destroyed Gregory, but because she had refused to let Gregory destroy her. That was the real victory. Not revenge. Not punishment. Simply surviving and thriving despite everything. 6 months later, Natasha stood on stage at a business conference, telling her story to 500 entrepreneurs. She had been nervous about accepting the speaking engagement, but Sharon had convinced her. "People need to hear how you rebuilt your life," Sharon had said. "Especially women who think they can't start over." So Natasha stood under bright lights and shared her journey. Not all of it, some wounds were still private, but enough. She talked about ending a marriage. About starting a business with nothing but determination. About building something that mattered. The audience was silent, hanging on every word. "The hardest part wasn't leaving," Natasha said. "It was believing I could succeed on my own. I had spent 10 years being someone's wife. I had forgotten how to be myself. But once I remembered, everything changed." She talked about her clients. About growing the firm. About hiring people and building a team. She showed slides of their success. Revenue charts climbing steadily upward, client testimonials, employee satisfaction scores. "Bennett Consulting Group now employs 30 people," she said. "We're on track to hit 5 million in revenue this year. We've helped over 50 companies improve their operations. And it all started because I decided I deserved better than the life I had." The applause was thunderous. Afterward, dozens of women approached her. They shared their own stories, their own struggles, their own dreams of starting over. "How did you find the courage?" one woman asked. "I didn't feel courageous," Natasha admitted. "I felt terrified. But I did it anyway." That's the secret. Courage isn't the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. That evening she had dinner with Angela, Sharon, and Patricia, the 3 women who had stood by her through everything. "To the dream team," Angela said, raising her glass. They toasted and laughed and told stories. Natasha looked around the table at these incredible women and felt overwhelming gratitude. She hadn't done this alone. She'd had help, support, friendship. "I have news," Patricia said. "Gregory filed for bankruptcy last week." The table went quiet. "He couldn't keep up with the restitution payments and alimony. He's losing the last few things he had. He'll probably have to declare bankruptcy to discharge the debts." "Does that affect Natasha's alimony?" Angela asked. "Some of it. She might not see full payments anymore. But honestly, she doesn't need it. She's built something bigger than he ever did." Natasha thought about that. A year ago she had wanted Gregory to suffer. She had wanted him to pay for what he did. Now, she just didn't care anymore. His bankruptcy didn't make her happy or sad. It was just irrelevant. "I'm going to tell my lawyer to stop pursuing the alimony," she said. "I don't need it, and chasing someone who has nothing is pointless." I'd rather focus on the future than waste energy on the past. Patricia smiled. That's growth. I'm proud of you. After dinner, Natasha drove home through the city she loved. Spring had arrived again, 1 full year since she had stood in that courtroom and won her divorce. The trees were blooming. The air was warm. Everything felt new and full of possibility. Her phone rang. An unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Hello? Mrs. Bennett? This is Officer Crawford from the county jail. Natasha's stomach dropped. What happened? Your ex-husband was brought in tonight. He attempted to hurt himself. He's in the medical unit now. He's asking for you. No. Ma'am? I said no. I'm not coming. Call his family. Call someone else. I can't help him. He doesn't have anyone else. His parents are deceased. He has no siblings. You're the only person listed in his emergency contacts. Natasha pulled over to the side of the road. Her hands shook on the steering wheel. Part of her felt guilty. Part of her felt sad. But mostly she felt done. Officer, I divorced him over a year ago. I haven't spoken to him in months. I can't be his emergency contact. I can't be responsible for him. That's not my job anymore. I understand. I'll inform him. Is he going to be okay? The doctors are with him now. He'll be placed on suicide watch. Beyond that, I can't say. After hanging up, Natasha sat in her car and cried. Not for Gregory, not really. But for the waste of it all. For the man he could have been. For the life they could have had if he had made different choices. But then she dried her tears and drove home. She had learned the hard way that you can't save people who don't want to be saved. You can only save yourself. At home, she changed into comfortable clothes and sat on her couch with a cup of tea. She thought about everything that had happened. The anniversary party. The betrayal. The divorce. The business. The success. All of it. It had been the worst year and the best year of her life. She had lost everything and gained everything. She had been broken and rebuilt herself stronger. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sharon. Remember, you're not defined by what happened to you. You're defined by how you responded to it. And you responded with strength and grace. Natasha smiled. Tomorrow she had a meeting with a potential client. Next week she was keynoting another conference. Next month she was opening a second office in another city. Her life was full of plans and possibilities. Gregory was part of her past. But he wasn't part of her future. She had built that future herself, one decision at a time, one day at a time. She walked to her window and looked out at the city lights. Somewhere out there were other women planning anniversary parties. Other women discovering betrayals. Other women standing at crossroads deciding which way to go. She hoped they chose themselves. She hoped they found the strength to walk away and build something new. She hoped they learned what she had learned, that endings can be beginnings, that loss can lead to growth, that the best revenge is living well. Natasha raised her teacup to her reflection in the window. To new beginnings, she whispered. The city lights twinkled back at her like stars, full of promise and potential. Her future stretched out before her, unwritten and unlimited. And she couldn't wait to see where it would lead.